in 47 years.
But this is a mistake that the U.S. makes.
I'm not,
that we believe that regime change is easy.
I'm not
and
defending
that it's
it.
gonna happen.
I'm just explaining it.
Are you all?
Are
you all arguing that they are not, were not prepared, and are not currently firing missiles and drones into things?
Actually, it's not that. I mean.
So in this clip, we're going to see Scott Jennings scrambling, desperately trying to justify why Donald Trump and his administration actually started this war that is sending literal shock waves across the entire world with Iran. As usual, let's watch the clip in full. I'll pause halfway through to share some of my thoughts, a bit of my perspective, and then I'll give the majority of it toward the end. Let's not waste any time. Let's jump right in.
Let's get into it.
But first, as the U.S. warns that attacks against Iran are going to intensify in the coming hours and days, the administration can't seem to get its story straight about why the war began in the first place. In the weeks leading up to the strike and in the days since, the president and his administration have offered evolving explanations. We've counted at least 9 so far.
I've made the statement very strongly that if they start killing people like they have in the past, we will get involved.
He wanted to make sure that Iran could never have a nuclear weapon.
Their swelling arsenal of ballistic missiles and killer drones are no longer tolerable risks.
They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first.
That experience was clearly on his mind as he ordered the attack that killed the supreme leader. He told me, I got him before he got me. They tried twice. Well, I got him first.
Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world.
Elimination of their Navy so we can have freedom of the seas and not be threatened with the shutdown of the Gulf of Hormuz.
When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
Iran has posed an imminent risk to the United States for 47 years.
Because they're evil and they're bad. It's a bad seed, and somebody had to do it. And it should have been done sometime during a 47-year period.
So when you hear all of that, just note this new reporting from the Wall Street Journal. It says U.S. officials, lawmakers, and experts all say that the administration's assertions have been incomplete, unsubstantiated, or flat out wrong. Some people have suggested that what's at play here is strategic ambiguity. Bobby, do you see that? Or do you see fishing for an explanation that can cover all bases?
Well, strategic ambiguity is in itself a sort of ambiguous term that people reverse engineer into situations like this often. When you don't have a clear line, you could throw that out there as a sort of, as a kind of plausible explanation. No, I don't buy that. I think this is what you see is what you get. You're seeing confusion play out, and I think that confusion, and it would be, you could make the case for strategic ambiguity if the messaging from this administration on so many other things, so many other aspects of foreign policy had been clear and concise and cleanly defined. But this is a pattern we've seen not just in Iran. We've seen it with most recently with Greenland. You get different messages from different parts of the administration, and sometimes from the president himself, depending on what time of day you ask him, right, you get different explanations. So this is consistent with a very muddled approach to foreign policy that we've seen from the Trump administration from the get-go.
And a very clear attempt to walk back what Secretary Rubio said yesterday, which was that we attacked Iran because Israel was going to attack Iran and they might retaliate against us. Then you had President Trump saying, well, I just felt like they were going to attack us, which leads people to wonder, where's the proof of that? So what is really going on here in the administration, and why can't they get their story straight?
Well, first of all, the president has access to intelligence and people that none of us do. And I believe he is probably looking at a set of information and making decisions about the likelihood of Iran attacking U.S. installations and saying, I'm just not willing to take that risk. That's a legitimate decision for a president to make. I do think...
But isn't that the opposite of what they told lawmakers when they briefed them over the weekend? They told them that there was no imminent threat to the United States, imminent attack.
I can tell you what I heard from senior administration officials with this is that they did believe there was an imminent threat. I don't really have any confusion about what we're doing there. And also, I think multiple...
It's interesting that you said that because Marco Rubio hasn't reiterated that at all. he's been talking to the press. He has not suggested that there was an imminent.
He absolutely has said that there's an imminent threat of them having ballistic missiles that they were possibly planning to shoot at U.S. military installations, B, and in the short and medium term, continuing to manufacture ballistic missiles that would allow them to shield a nuclear program that they would not give up. This is a pretty clear rationale.
Let me play Marco Rubio. What Marco Rubio has been saying, what the president has been saying, there's been a lot of back and forth on this. Listen.
We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties.
You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. If anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. But Israel was ready, and we were ready.
Once the president made a decision that negotiations were not going to work, that they were playing us on the negotiations, and that this was a threat that was untenable, the decision was made to strike them. That's what I said yesterday.
No talk of an imminent attack on the United States, Rina. And look, that's important because when a decision is made to attack another country without Congress, an imminent attack or something akin to it should be on the table.
You know, this is so different from the lead up to the Iraq War in 2003, when it was all about creating a coalition, both domestically of folks on Capitol Hill, but also a global coalition. You know, Saturday morning, the UK government was beside themselves of trying to separate themselves from what had happened. What this was a decapitation strike. And I think what happened was they did not anticipate how quickly and how with precision the Iranians would be able to strike back on military installations. We're seeing hotels, on airports. I was talking to somebody in the travel industry. He said, look, in the next 48 to 72 hours, if these airports aren't opened and traffic isn't resumed again, it's crippling to economies. You can hit first militarily, but the next thing is financial.
Are you suggesting we are not completely and totally dominating these people right now?
It's not about domination. See, that's where everyone gets excited. Go out there, throw the missiles and the bombs, and then, but what happens after, at that point? Nobody thinks of the day after the war. What's your plan?
We dominated the Taliban. We dominated Saddam's army.
Look,
this is quite literally
Look, the bottom line is, they don't want them to have ballistic missiles. They don't want them to have a nuclear program. They don't like that their Navy makes trouble for everybody in the Gulf. And that is the stated rationale. You could throw on other things. For the last 47 years, they have killed American troops. They've maimed American personnel. They've exported and funded terror around the world and around the region. And you seem to be suggesting we have no allies in this. I watched the president with the Chancellor of Germany today. He strongly supports what we're doing. The UK is feckless. Spain is feckless. But we have plenty of allies in the region and around the world who know we have done the right thing.
So to be clear, I just want to you just listed a bunch of things. None of them were an imminent attack. But Rita's question is actually
ballistic missiles, Abby. Drones. These are imminent attack weapons.
What proof is there that there were ballistic missiles, that they actually had ballistic missiles that could reach the United States?
Reach U.S. bases. Look at your television. They're falling right now.
Iran has been attacking through their proxies U.S. military bases for some time now. Okay.
You want to keep that going, or
the argument that the administration may be making sometimes is that they might have had capabilities to attack the United States on the homeland. Where is the proof of that?
And U.S. intelligence that has been released has said that this was not at all
on our
Defense
facilities
Intelligence
in the
Agency.
region and our allies in the region.
Okay, so
it is not in dispute.
What about that is new?
What do you mean? What about it? It's not new. Other than to say that the decision.
Let me put it another way. What about that is imminent?
Are you all? Are you all arguing that they are not? We're not prepared and are not currently firing missiles and drones into things.
It's not that. I mean, everybody understands the threat of Iran. It's been there, to quote Tom Cotton, for 47 years.
Yeah.
The question is, what changed in the last 30 days?
We got a president that had the balls to take care of it. I guess
that's the question that everybody's asking.
Can I help answer what I think the real reason, the real answer to that question is that for the past 2.5 years, that the U.S. and its allies in the region have built up what they consider to be a lot of momentum, leading to this point. Imminent, I mean, that's obviously a question that you're debating, and it's a legitimate debate. But if you look at Hamas, Hezbollah, what happened in Syria with Bashar al-Assad, if you look at what happened, in Lebanon and beyond, the feeling was that Iran, the hub of Iran, the heart of Iran, the regime, is at its weakest point in 47 years.
But this is a mistake that the U.S. makes. That we believe that regime change is easy
I'm not
and that
defending
it's going to happen.
I'm just explaining it. And this is why it's that combined with the president was very clear when tens of thousands of protesters were in the streets and then got massacred, that he was going to try to do something about that. So the combination of all of those things and the pressure from allies in the region, not just Israel, but also Saudi Arabia, I think it ended at this point.
The biggest mistake I have made as a foreign correspondent covering these wars on the ground has been thinking that regime change is going to happen because you watch the protesters. On the ground with Mubarak, we all believed covering it, this was the moment that Mubarak was going to fall. Do you know what made Mubarak fall? It was his own security forces ended up caving in and turning on them. And so that is what we're watching in Iran right now. Will the Revolutionary Guard somehow crack? That is not an easy thing to see and achieve.
There is nothing I would like to see more than the dismantling of the Iranian regime, but this is an experiment that America has tried and failed for decades and decades and decades. Under Bush, who he worked for, under Obama, Trump promised to be different, but it is not different. He is continuing to make the same mistake of thinking that just because you remove the bad guy, everything is magically solved. Didn't work with Gaddafi, it got worse. Didn't work with Saddam Hussein, it got worse. You can't just remove the bad guy with no backup plan to build long-lasting institutions. And from everything we've seen from this administration, they have no plan. They have no plan on what's going to happen next. They have no transition plan. I don't think they know. They took out most of the people they were going to replace the supreme leader with. And now Marco Rubio contradicts Donald Trump. Donald Trump contradicts himself. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen doesn't seem to know what the word war even means. He's debating himself on that every single day. We need an actual plan. I haven't seen a plan from this administration, and that's worrying to me. It's very worrying.
Bobby, I'm curious what you think of this reporting that CNN has, that the CIA is now working to arm Kurdish forces, hoping that that would spark either confusion or that they could overtake Revolutionary Guard forces and overthrow the regime.
Well, we've seen this movie before. Rena and I covered the war in Iraq from the get-go. And this is Kurdish history going back generations, where the Kurds are used by any number of foreign powers. The old Russian Empire, Saddam Hussein against the Shah against Saddam Hussein, the Turks against everybody, and then we've done it ourselves. We use the Kurds as a sort of shock troops to try and engineer some change on the ground, and then we turn around and abandon them. They've seen this movie before, and I doubt that they're going to throw themselves wholeheartedly into an effort like that. Listen, the Kurds want to have a homeland of their own, and we could argue that they deserve to have a homeland of their own. But they have been betrayed over and over again by people claiming to be their friends, by people encouraging them to reach for a homeland and then denying it to them.
And then, of course, Iran is massive.
And Iran is a much larger proposition,
much more organized,
much stronger military, much stronger paramilitary forces, much stronger regime. And Iran is not a dictatorship. People keep using examples of Saddam Hussein, and I've done that. I've made that mistake too. But Saddam Hussein, Iraq was a dictatorship. It was a one-man rule. That same with Libya and Gaddafi. To a substantial degree, the same with Bashar Assad and Syria. Iran, there's a whole regime that was designed to survive this kind of attack. They have redundancies upon redundancies upon redundancies. These, let me be clear, these are unambiguously bad guys, and they, no, as you said, no one's shedding a tear. Certainly very few Iranians I know are going to be shedding any tears for them. And it is to be desired, change in the regime, a chance for Iranians to have a chance to live up to their potential, which is enormous. However, we don't seem to have a plan. If the explanation for this was so simple, why is the administration trotting out a different explanation every week? If it was so clear and so unambiguous, why is it having trouble gathering, as the Bush administration did, gathering an international coalition of the willing to go in there and do this. That is what makes me worried. Not that these are bad guys. They're bad guys.
Everyone
agrees.
I
don't think we know what to do
bad guy.
about that situation.
Yeah, everyone agrees on the fact that Iran, they're the bad guys. The question is what happens next. And next for us, though, we will go back to the...
So what I don't understand is this. I don't understand what Scott doesn't get about the video compilation that Abby just played. It's crystal clear that the administration is scrambling simply because they don't know and can't stick to the reasoning or the reason behind why they decided to go to war with Iran, how it happened, who started it, who initiated it. They can't stay consistent on it. And that's exactly why you saw what you just saw in the compilation, where Marco Rubio contradicts Donald Trump and Donald Trump contradicts Marco Rubio. Honestly, Scott Jennings, I always say this, is someone who will try to defend things that can't be defended. But obviously, I get it. That's literally his role on the show. If it wasn't for that, there'd be no point in him. Let me know your thoughts on this exchange in the comments below. And do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and the thumbs up purely for the YouTube algorithm. Appreciate you guys. See you in the next one.